Perfect. Hey everyone. Sorry I couldn't make it there in person. You guys hopefully are able to hear me okay. I'll be pretty quick because I know you guys have lunch coming up. My name is Waymon Ho. I want to talk a little bit today about kind of the state of cybersecurity education and how we as a community can work to improve it. Just a little bit about myself. I'm the director of content development at a nonprofit organization called KC7 Foundation. Outside of that, my day job, I work as a senior hunt analyst on the Mystic team at Microsoft. Talk a little bit more about that later, but the KC7 Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit that's built up with over 12 plus cybersecurity analysts, educators, lawyers, all working to make education a little bit better. Just before I start, a little bit about me. I've been at KC7 for a little bit about over a year now, and I've been at the Microsoft team also for about a year. Prior to that, I hunted cyber criminals for the FBI. Do the same thing pretty much at Microsoft. But what I really wanted to talk about today is just like taking all of that, especially like the threat actors we track, et cetera, and build a platform, build a way for students, people getting into the industry, people in the industry looking to upskill, learn how to accurately track, and learn more about how threat actors behave in environments. Really quickly, why do students need to learn cyber? Right, it's cybercrime pays. There's quite a lot of intrusions recently, as you saw in the last talk as well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of cyber activity, cyber enabled activity going on in the world. Um, there's quite a large amount of demands for cybersecurity jobs. You always hear this like 3 million number, this 3.5 million number. There's not that many cybersecurity graduates to get into the field. Certainly, there's a growing interest now, but it's not meeting the demand that's expected for our industry. And I want to put this tagline, and not just to say that like to be mean or anything, but like today's college graduates and aspiring cybersecurity professionals are not prepared to enter the cybersecurity workforce. I'm not saying that as a dig to college graduates or aspiring professionals because it's not their fault. I think as an industry as a whole, it's largely on us to be able to build the pipeline, the platform for students to learn cyber. The reason why I say that too, right, is like we have all of these like different college courses, we have a lot of these things, and I know many universities are changing now for the better, which is awesome. But what we see typically is, a lot of focus on certain fundamentals, certain even IT principles that people talk about that don't really correlate to core job skills, core functions that somebody needs to succeed in cybersecurity. So if you look at something like the Cyber Threat Intelligence Framework that's put out by Mandiant, right? If you look at this, there's quite a bit of different things to look at that's not like, you know, you need to know, everything about the history of the internet. You need to know everything about the structure of a network packet, things like that. I mean, those skills are definitely, of course, very helpful, but things that students need to learn along the way, right, is a lot of the problem solving and the professional effectiveness that isn't usually taught in a regular curriculum. Not only that, technical literacy is definitely one of the key components, but if you also look at cyber threat proficiency, students need to learn how threat actors operate. They need to learn, what drives them, what frameworks that we use to track threat actors. And, a lot of times to get to that point, to get to that familiarity, you have to already essentially be working at, a job in cybersecurity, right? A lot of the data that you see internally within a SOC or, you know, along the course of business, usually that's like sensitive data that's really not out there for the general public. So, I mean, I don't need to explain to a lot of you guys, right? Cyber is not really just a tech problem, has a lot of impact in many, many different fields. Um, I mean, just skipping over to this, right? And talking about our mission at KC7, right? Our mission is to empower everyone to succeed in tomorrow's diverse cybersecurity workforce. We believe we need to start that at empowering students, especially those in underserved communities, right? The way we accomplish that is by bringing this education for free. We're not trying to make money off it. We're not trying to make it prohibitively expensive or barriers to anybody. We want everyone to have a start in cybersecurity, to have an interest in cybersecurity. But what does that really mean, right? I'm just talking a whole bunch of stuff. Um, Here's where we kind of fit in, right? If you look at an example of like threat intel production, many of you guys have seen this before, may have experience with this before, where somebody may identify threat actor actions, whether it's in their own data, in compromised data, et cetera. They identify and find TTPs through analysis. They do their publishing and report. Where we try to go beyond that, right, is take the data that we see in these reports, or take the data that we identify ourselves, and then we recreate that data using our KC7 engine. What that means is that all of our data, all of the things that we do is immersive. We'll create a simulated environment. We'll create different companies and different sectors with different roles and different employees, et cetera. And we will take that threat actor and push them into that environment, have them go wild, and we go back and we investigate. We go back and we set up, some CTF or some scoreboard, which I'll talk about in a bit here, to have students learn the investigative process, going through from start to finish, maybe identifying initial access, identifying points of compromised activity, and going all the way to actions on objectives, identifying what the motives for this threat actor is, taking that information and then going back to figure out who exactly they are, which region they're from, et cetera, essentially performing attribution. So how do we do that, right? We take things that we would see, for example, like a DFIR report that has open source information on an APT group or cyber criminal group, and we'll translate a lot of their TTPs into different parts of the attack chain. And we'll use a lot of MITRE attack frameworks. We'll use a lot of techniques from there. We'll, set up our threat actor, how we want to mimic them. We'll even do like they only work this certain time zone or this certain time frame to mimic what, for example, nation state actors will do, to mimic what cybercrime actors will do. Then we use, a lot of these building blocks to recreate the threat actor. We'll push them into these YAML files that we essentially create that will mimic the threat actor in the simulated environment. It'll attack and it'll have degrees of randomness. So every time we generate data, it's going to be different each time. And, moving on from that point, it's something that we believe is important to us to make sure students have hands-on experience, right? And we're using real tools. I mean, students will be looking at telemetry as if they were working at a SOC. They have access to Azure Data Explorer with a wide variety of logs that stem from like authentication logs to file creation events, process events, you name it, things that a SOC analyst or TI analyst would typically look at in their day-to-day job. A lot of times too, we have people collaborate in teams, but more importantly, the way we frame our questions is to have them learn what is the geopolitical impact of this, what is the motivation, what about this threat actor is important for you to track and to learn about. And this is really to go back to, like, for example, the core CTI competency frameworks, right, where you learn about critical thinking, learn about communication, and, to contextualize the threat rather than just looking at the technical data itself. So, just trying it out. We've done this so many times now, from K through 12, from colleges to, returning professionals, transitioning professionals. They were interested. They loved it. I think part of the problem, right, is that a lot of people learn about the different materials in cybersecurity, but they don't actually have any immersive hands-on experience with it. And giving them the ability to see what it's like at a job level, I think really brings cybersecurity really draws that to a lot of students who are interested in it. So the way we try to do that, right, is redefining what cybersecurity traditionally calls the fundamentals. Right, you see, kind of in the beginning, the base, we want people to learn critical thinking, analytical reasoning, and communication. When we look at the very top, the IT and computer science domain concepts, like typically the way traditional education is structured is that's kind of the first part. But to me, I feel like we need to flip that around to bring that investigative, to identify those investigative qualities, so students can figure out if this is a field for them. I think the main concepts, IT, all that stuff is very important. It's what I was built on, but a lot of times I think many people will see that a lot of that information doesn't necessarily translate to what you do on a day-to-day basis. So one of the things that we want to push for is immersion in depth, right? And I think us at KC7 have really brought that forward for a lot of students, right? We give them real intrusion data, things that are typically locked behind, a job role that's locked behind the company you work for. But to give you access to a wide variety of data, to give you context as to why threat actors would do certain things, would do certain actions in certain industries, and really give you the simulated job role of what you would do on a day-to-day basis. Many folks who go through like the trainings we do, again, right, they're all free. They go and they're able to translate that to, for example, job interviews, right? They can walk through an intrusion from start to finish. They can walk through what they've done and what they've learned about the threat actor, which has been widely successful. So what does that all mean, right? Like, how does KC7 actually work? I've set up a CTF for you guys to run throughout the con. Really, we put you in a simulation where you're, a new SOC analyst. You are looking at cyber threat actors that are trying to hack into a company. You have log data that's available to you, so there's no guiding there. You just have access to the raw data. And then we have like a scoreboard where you can go in and answer the questions to investigate the attack. If you need more information or anything, we have so many guides out there. We have a dedicated Discord channel. I'm gonna leave this slide out for a little bit, but essentially, I want to do less talking and have you guys go straight to the CTF. If you guys want to try it out, you just need access to a web browser. You need to have a free Microsoft account, as well as an account on our website. We have a Discord community. We have a specific channel for you guys to join. And, if you guys have any questions, let me know. We're working on getting, I don't have the full bid for the prizes yet, but for this con, we're doing individuals. So the first person who gets first place on the CTF or finishes the module first, we'll have a prize for you. You can get with Russ, and we'll make sure you get something from there. But that's all I really wanted to say. I wanted to provide kind of context as to why we do what we do at KC7, right? We want to redefine how we provide cybersecurity education, make it accessible and free to students especially, and just give you the hands-on experience that you need to secure that job, to learn what it's like to hunt, to learn what it's like to be in these job roles that you're applying for. So that's all I had. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. And happy hunting.